Bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our regular meeting of March 17. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Just to tell you, maybe just take a minute of silence. The father-in-law of our deputy mayor, Nicolas Boudreau, Romeo Boudreau, passed away. He passed away last week or last weekend. Just maybe to recognize this. And the visit at the funeral parlor will be tomorrow and also Wednesday morning. Tomorrow, like the weather is not so interesting, so if you want to visit, at least like just to offer our sympathies.
Merci.
Thank you.
Comme toujours,
as always, we are gathering on the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people whose ancestors signed a treaty of peace and friendship with the British crown in the 1700s. Mr. Clerk, we do have quorum this evening. We have 2 council members who are remotely and 2 others are absent. In terms of declaration of conflict of interest, any council members who would like to declare a conflict of interest on any item. The agenda, seeing none. Thank you. In terms of adoption of the agenda, you have the agenda. I would need a motion moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. Questions on the motion? If not, all in favor signify saying aye. Against, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Next item, adoption of the minutes of the meeting held of January 20th, 2025. So there's always a delay between the meeting and by the time the minutes are done and ready to be adopted by the council. I simply need a motion to adopt. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. Questions on the minutes? If not, all in favor? Oh, one question. Councillor Paul Boudreau. I have a question, Sylvain. I saw that some items, they're not voted unanimously. So we said the vote, just who's voting for or against. Can you tell me why it's not identified who people what? Generally, if it's not a directive we are receiving, if it's asked by council members, we will take note of this and we will note who voted for or against. The vote will be recorded, as they say in English. If it's not necessarily depending on the vote. So it's really depends on cases. If it one person, one individual who will say, I will vote against. If it's a vote and we're not mentioning anyone, say, well, 8 against 3, something like that. So thank you, Sylvain. So, all in favor saying aye. Against, nay. Carried. Thank you. Item 6, presentations. We have one item, presentation from Community Life, and they will be talking on 2 matters, so Best Buddies Shediac and the upcoming activities to the multi-sport service. Marley, if I remember.
Oui. Madame Bélanger,
Mrs. Bélanger, could you introduce Mrs. Marley? We were fortunate that, the course at UDM, for recreation, they have students who are finishing this year. So you're about a dozen, who are finishing their degree in recreation. And Marley, she's from Skuduk, and she approached us to see if we would be interested, to help her, with her practicum. So since January, Marley started with us, knowing the different projects she would be working on, and she developed them by herself. And this evening, she's presenting what she was able to develop. And these are really good results. So I will let Marley talk to explain her practicum and her goals.
Hey. La magie se fait.
So the magic is done.
Bonsoir.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to everyone. The reason I'm here today is to present two of my practicum goal objectives, and they also correspond for two new projects that were done with the town of Shediac. I will start with the multi-sport surface as you're seeing on the screen. And this is a schedule for the summer. So we have the light blue. It's open to everyone, so it means anyone can go there and do whatever they wish, but they do not have access to our equipment, however. And the dark blue, it's available for under reservation, and it means anyone can rent the multi-sport surface, and they can organize it, say like birthday parties or private events. We got a lot of requests to rent the multi-sport surface, so that's why we have specific schedule. So the red boxes is information for the town of Shediac, so we can see we have for instance boot camp sessions, different sports such as ball, hockey, and also any sports. It means specifically people will come and play, let's say ball hockey, and the same goes for basketball. Not on mention of the screen, there's also multi-sport session for children, a big ball hockey tournament will be held at the beginning of May. Also, there will be the pickleball and other upcoming activities from May to September. Now for the program for Best Buddies Shediac. For those who are not familiar with Best Buddies, these activities are dedicated with intellectual disability, a person living with intellectual disabilities. We want to create inclusion with people living with various disabilities. We had lots of requests for services accessible, so that's why I did some research on their interests and the trends. And there are two activities came up. So the first one is bingo with the therapy, and it will be held on April 5th at the multi-purpose center. Second activity, it's a board game evening at Moktok, will be on April 9th. And according to the result for this programming, we'll see if we need to do different additional programming. So this concludes my presentation. Thanks for listening. And if you have any question, I am available. I can answer them. Thank you very much, Jack, for your presentation. This is really good information on how the programs are delivered and also for the use of multi-sport surface. So people will reserve accordingly and take advantage of the availability. Councillor Paul Boudreau, question. So you have a degree in recreation, must be really smart. Everybody knows. Just a question for renting multi-sports surface, any cost to rent it? So it's available on open reservation. Is it free? We are just looking at what fees we will be charging. So this schedule, is it for the whole summer, or is it from May to September? So we did not include all the programming.
Bravo, merci.
Bravo and thank you.
Non, regardez pour les deux autres. Parfait. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. I did not say. Councillor Patricia Chevalier. For Shediac Best Buddies, we had a committee for Best Buddies. So is it in collaboration? No, it's an initiative yes, for the town of Shediac. So thank you.
Merci bien, Marley. Je vous souhaite bonne soirée.
Thank you very much, and I'm wishing you a great evening.
Madame Bélanger.
Mrs. Bélanger, and I would like to add, like with the programming, like with Best Buddies, we are relying on the collaboration of everyone, like to share the information. So Marley was able to share information with different partners and different resources. And if you know anybody who might benefit for this program, we're asking like for I think it's 16 years or older. So any individuals like 16 years or older, because we know like start around 16 years old, like the recreation activities are fewer. So we really would like to have a great participation. Just pass the word. Thank you. Great initiatives. Next item, we have no correspondence for this evening. So the standing and special committee report. So we have the report for the fire department. So we have the fire chief with us this evening. You have like the statistics, like you are providing them like every month. So this one is up to the end of February. So it gives you like an overview and a picture of some specific details, how busy they are. Councillor Jean-Claude Bernier. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the fire truck we ordered, is it coming from the state? If not, will we pay like the 25% tariff? For this, I will ask you like to ask the question like during the questions from the council members. It's not a question on the report. Thank you. I understand your question too. So next report, building permits report. So once again, like we have the numbers up to the end of February, and we can see like we are at close to 7.6 million from January to in February, to close to 3 million. We're only like in February. So this is a good start. Like it's more than last year. It just means like we had more during those months. The other months might be different compared to like the Councillor Janice Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention like at the bottom of the diagram, like for 2024, I think it wasn't added like 2024, like the date at the bottom. Yes, you're right. Thank you. Just to adjust like just the typos. Thank you. Unless like our CEO, the director, had anything to add on this report. Mr. CAO, time for your report. I will give a report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the report I will be giving this evening, I will share a lot of information like that will be later on the agenda. So I'm saying like from several months we've been working together like on different initiatives like that the council wanted, and later on the agenda, of course, that will continue to make progress on files. So we will need a decision from the council. Mainly if we're talking about the rec center, like we brought like the file for the rec center to do like a business case, but this evening we will present like the companies like we asked to get an answer, so it will give you an example. As for like a strategic planning, we almost completed like the operational plan, and our goal is to have a plenary meeting by the end of the month to present the operational plan. And at that time, we would like to get your comments or suggestions, and we will give you enough time to digest and maybe plan another session later in April. So we are able like to get right into the matter and develop something like by the beginning of May. As for municipal operations, a lot of planification work is being done, like for the building season, either like the Bow Bridge project, like the Calder and the trail project. So last week we had an open house at the multi-purpose center for the Mobile project. So we were able, the citizens were able to visit the scope of the project, the map of the project, ask specific questions. A lot of citizens ask specific questions to know how this would impact them, and we try to answer the questions to the best of our knowledge. And also we will start working on a firm that will help us develop the development charges for the zone. It's not normal for the municipality to be responsible for all of this. Usually they would have a development charge helps us to recuperate some of those investments, and we are working with a firm to implement a policy, and hopefully we'll be able to repeat in other regions if we are in the same situation. So this firm did similar work with the city of Moncton and the city of Dieppe. So they have some kind of expertise to help us with the development. As for the 5-year plan and the assessment management plan, we're working with the consultant we hired last week to prepare to have something ready by the end of the year. As for the transportation master plan, so we were sharing that we will have a date for you to present. We are proposing the same evening as the one we'll do for the same evening as strategic planning. So we will have the consultant for the transportation master plan, and they will be able to present the 2 documents during that evening. So to inform you on this. And of course, this evening we had a resolution in December for a study on the planning services and planification services. So we are recommending we'll present it later this evening. As for the economic development and tourism development, so this evening, might have seen on the agenda, we will present the lodging tax. So there will be a bylaw, so there will be a presentation, and then you'll be able to ask your questions. And net zero, it's another file, so this evening you will see it too. And finally, we got an answer from government for funders for a grant. So to make more progress, we will need also you're okay on this. And also for the industrial park, we continue to work with our legal counsel on this agreement, and also on the agreement with employees that are working in the park. So we're hoping to have something to present to in April. So we're crossing our fingers to present something As for for finances, all our numbers are with the accountant, and they're preparing for financial audit. So we're hoping to have the report presented in May by the accounting firm, and they'll be able to present the year 2024. So I want to remind you the billing for the water service, the citizens have until the end of the month before they get the rebate. And after the date of March 31st, if we did not get any payment, we'll send letters. And the majority of cases will send a second letters of people who might be a bad debt to continue our recuperation effort. And lastly, we're supposed to get a meeting with EMOs a few weeks ago, but it was pushed back to tomorrow. And I will have more details for emergency measures at the regional level. This concludes my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. CEO. I think what's happening, especially on your office. Questions on any items presented by the CEO. Thank you very much, Yves. Very interesting. So one of the questions I wanted to ask. So you referred to the transportation master plan. Does it involve like the sidewalks, or we'll have a say? Like, I would like to avoid for consultant to come here, almost like set in stone, that we will have a say, like between the presentation and we'd come back to the council. At the end of the day, like the consultant will make recommendations. The council always has the last say. If the council wants to change like something like a priority for another priority, it's within its powers. And of course, like we started the study to have an idea of the priorities, and I think we will recommend to follow the priorities. But of course, like the council always have the last say, like especially for sidewalk, because the strategic plan, like our active transportation, our citizens want sidewalk.
No.
So I hope I answered your question, Bob.
Bon, donc.
So,
prochain point, les recommandations
next item.
de la Commission des services régionaux du Sud-Est. Au point 10.1.
Recommendations from the Anglican Church Public Lands. Mr. Boudreau.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
On a reçu une demande de
We've received a request for the Anglican parish lot, and the municipal bylaw says that the land is for public use. In the case, in this specific case here, and consulting with the administration, the determination was done that since the land will be transferred to the province, which is a public entity, we didn't see a need to add any more land or additional cost in terms of as money for public lands. Or for that reason, the municipality, it's in the bylaw, so we can't neglect the obligation under the law. But the power, as we mentioned, it's in the power in the municipal council to determine the worth of the land. The recommendation is that they accept that the value of the land will be established at $1 to permit this to remove. So you have the report if you have any questions. Mrs. Cormier, you want to make the motion? Thank you, Ms. Mayor. So be it resolved that the municipal council recommends to establish the merchant value for $1 Anglican Parish of Shediac as presented in the subdivision plan. So I make the motion, Mr. Mayor. So moved, supported by Joël Després. Question on the motion. So all those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Adopted, motion adopted. Thank you.
Short and sweet.
So short and sweet. Next one. They told me that's why there are three this evening. They're showing the changing of tonnage. He's going quickly on the numbers there.
Sanchez.
Sanchez.
Excuse.
J'essaie de trouver. Okay, what?
Ah ouais. Bon. Et voilà.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Et
Bonsoir.
merci
Thank
aussi à
you,
vous
Mr.
tous.
Mayor.
Alors aujourd'hui, c'est
So
une
today,
demande pour amender
it's a
l'arrêté de
request
zonage. C'est
to
pour faciliter
amend
la
the
construction
zoning
de
to
logements
facilitate
adaptés
the building of
personnes à
adapted
mobilité
lodging
réduite
for
ou handicapées.
reduced
C'est
mobility
ce qu'on voit en
in
rouge sur
commercial.
la carte.
It's in the red area on the map.
Alors, l'arrêté
So
date de
the
2020.
Shediac bylaw
Exigé
from
dans
back
des
to
zones
2020
commerce
required
commerce central,
general
c'est-à-dire
commerce
essentiellement
and
le centre
central.
historique,
So the
la
historical
rue Main et
center,
la rue Ohio,
Main and Ohio
réservé
streets,
le premier étage des nouveaux
to
bâtiments
reserve
résidentiels
the
à
first
d'autres usages,
story
résidentiels.
to other
Et en
uses
2021,
than
la province a
residential.
adopté une loi
And
qui
then
exige que les
21,
bâtiments contenant
the
plus
province
de 4 unités,
said
ils
that
doivent
for more
offrir
than 4 units,
une unité
they
adaptée
have
aux
to
personnes
offer at least one adapted
pour
unit
pouvoir
for
offrir ça,
limited
les
access.
développeurs ont
So
tendance à aller plus
the
grand,
developers
plus haut
tend
pour
to
pouvoir
go
installer un
bigger and
ascenseur,
higher
un
to
dispositif
install an
ainsi.
elevator or a similar
Voilà, ça,
device.
c'est une proposition de
So that's the
bâtiment
proposal.
à usage mixte de taille
Mixed
intermédiaire.
usage,
Il y
intermediate
aurait un
size,
rang au rez-de-chaussée et donc
one
pas
at
d'ascenseur.
the ground level and no
Sur la
elevator.
rue Main, Ohio, ou dans le
And that's in
centre,
Main,
c'est
Ohio.
pas autorisé par l'arrêté de
This will not be
cependant,
authorized by the bylaw.
le plan municipal, il nous donne plusieurs
But
orientations.
we
C'est
have
de repenser
different
l'activité commerciale
possibilities,
de la région sur les axes
yes,
de la ville.
commercial
Favoriser
for
les
the
activités
area wide,
qui répondent aux
foster
besoins.
commercial activities that
Et
meet the
aussi
needs of the
favoriser
local
un design
people
urbain qui permet la
and
pratique de la
to
marche le long des
value
axes commerciaux principaux.
urban design that
Et,
facilitates
on va
walking
valoriser l'attractivité de Shediac pour rendre la
and
vie
the
plus
attractivity
agréable.
of Shediac
Et
to
et
make life
exiger
easier and
une
better,
mixité d'usage au premier étage
and
des
a
nouveaux
mix of
bâtiments
use,
résidentiels le long de
new
ces axes commerciaux centraux. Ce
along
qui fait que
the commercial
l'arrêté
and
de
central
zonage,
access,
il ouvre
so that the bylaw,
le plan municipal ouvre
the
l'opportunité
municipal
de faire
plan opens the opportunity to modify
les réglementations de l'arrêté de zonage.
the bylaw.
Donc ça serait ce
So
qu'on propose pour permettre
this is what we would move to allow adapted
Donc,
units.
on passerait de 100%
So we'd go from 100%
être résidentiel à un minimum de 50%.
minimum of
Et en plus,
50%.
sur la rue Main,
And on Main Street,
on devrait dédier la façade à d'autres usages
the facade would be for other uses
sur la rue Main, on doit se développer
because on Main Street we have to
pour
develop close to the
l'intimité pour les
street,
logements et
so it would keep some intimacy
contexte
for
local.
and adapted to local context.
Donc la demande qui avait été faite
So the request made initially is just to have adapted units, but a little further with more flexibility to adapt to reduce mobility standards, to offer standards that are comparative to similar towns to Shediac, and to keep the unique character of Shediac and Main Street and not compromise the development principles in the municipal plan. So the council can decide to go with public process. We can refuse to go with the ask if we don't agree with the project, put it off or postpone it if you want to have more information on it. And if you wish to go ahead, it could be presented to the PRAC in April to have a public audience in May. Yeah. Second, that concludes my presentation.
Merci.
Thank you.
Donc,
And thank you.
vous avez bien
If
suivi.
you've
Joël,
followed
tu veux faire la lecture?
Joël Desprez, you
Bonne
are you in favor or comments?
Changement de zonage Z-14
Change of zone, whereas the municipal council got a request for amicable grouping to amend this and regional coverage facility to allow more flexibility.
In order to allow like development in the to have like housing adapted for physical disability. Be it resolved that the council review the file to determine whether it's the public interest to amend the zoning bylaw. Be it further resolved that the clerk shall, in the name and on behalf of the council, request to receive the opinion of the Southeast Planning Review Committee under Section 110 of the Community Planning Act by April 25th, 2025. Be it further resolved that the clerk, in the name and on behalf of the council, arrange for public notice of the adoption of such bylaw to be published within the time prescribed by Section 111 of the Community Planning Act, and that the public hearing be set for May 5th, 2025 at 6 o'clock in the council chamber to hear objections to the proposed bylaw. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Question, Councillor Joël Després. Mr. Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong. Last year, like I feel that we decided like to call a project that was doing right across it for the reason like they wanted to build like a residential for the lower floor. Isn't it the same right now? I did not pay attention because I'm just mentioning it's not to favor anyone, like it's in my point. Correct me if I'm wrong, like is it a little bit different, this project, or Phil, or? Just to clarify, like the modification, they still require like a commercial on the first floor. Like we saw promoters who wanted to build like 2-3 stories. They have to put like mobility for physical disability. So if they have smaller buildings on Main Street, they would need elevators. So we were approached and they asked, could we have at one maybe residential unit at the first floor? So if it's facing Main Street, but at the back of the building, 50%, well, they would be able like to install a residential unit, and as Guilhem referred to, like to accommodate people with reduced mobility. And so they wouldn't need elevators. Compared to other municipalities in the Southeast, it's consistent with what we see with other municipalities. I not understand. I thought it was residential, like the full floor. I understood the presentation, like it's a provincial requirement, like to have one unit, like for people with mobility problems. So if it was higher with elevators, so they only want to build 3 stories, so they don't need an elevator. So like the provincial acts is one thing, and our bylaw another thing. So we have compromise. So this way they wouldn't need like to install an elevator, because they would have like a unit like on the first floor. It would be at the back of the building only. Thank you for the clarification. So I will vote to go forward, but I'm looking forward for the public hearing. Any other questions? Online? No? Perfect. So it's only like starting the problem. Like the public hearing is all in favor saying aye. Against nay. It's been carried. Thank you. And the last of the 3, Mr. Robichaud. It's rezoning ZAD-14-44-62Z and P-14-36-13P. And it's a similar request. One is for the zoning bylaw, the other one is for the municipal plan. So good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. So this evening, I'm presenting you a rezoning request that was proposed by the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure for a new Anglophone school in this town of Shediac. So the owner for now is Anglican Parish, so the property was not transferred. So the intent it will be a transfer to the province. So the property, like we see it, is circled in red. It's just south of a campground. It have access like to Ohio Road. It's about 123 acres, and the buyers would like to purchase like half of the property. And then just to see a close up, like there is a line like for NB Power, and the property is wooden, and the campground and the mini home and the Bellevue at the west. I mentioned Ohio and the operation center, which is nearby. The sector is serviced with the water and sewer system, and the project we need like a trunk line, as you discussed many times. So the reason, like we need a rezoning, so there are two zonings. So the part on Ohio zone is general commercial, and the other one is R3. It's a similar zone we're saying in the neighborhood. It's just a Bellevue at the, which is R2, and here we see like a project localization plan for the new school. That's the only plan we have can show you this evening. It's really preliminary, and we're seeing like the school right here. And they're proposing an access like from Ohio Road, and it's also mentioned like possibly there could be a new public street on the property. And we see there are a few wetlands that have to be crossed like to get to the property. And we see also there are like sports fields like just along Route 15. So this is like a Google Street View, like dating September 24. So we see like the water tower, and this is like the property right on the left side, and it's just after like the area that was clear cut. So the proposed zoning, it's collective services, which is the zone used like to accommodate like institutional uses and such as schools, hospitals, and etc. As the mayor alluded to, it's still like a change for the municipal plan, just to modify like the land use. So there will be two bylaws that we'll have to consider, and one to rezone and one to modify the municipal plan. So there is an extra step in the project, and there will be like a public presentation and the public hearing for this zoning. Municipal plan is mentioning that to encourage and put institutional uses like together. So where we see more institutional uses, and the municipal plan is and the municipalities as the borough, they're saying like they all have like different ones. So it could be in two boroughs, and it would be Ohio Road, which is the entrance to the town of Shediac. So the vision is more like a commercial development, and it's also like mostly in the Bellevue borough, which is characterized like with bigger vacant land for residential development for the maybe medium density. So there is a slight deviation in the municipal plan, but the staff still recommend like to continue with the legal process for rezoning. And we think like the location, it's strategic, like close to Route 15, and will serve like a broader population. And this is a unique opportunities in Shediac, like to have a new school. And it's also close like to boroughs and like the domaine beau séjour, and also like the pheasant domain, which has like a residential development. So residential and school like it goes well hand in hand. So it's done for future development that could accommodate a lot of residential development. And this land is served by municipal services. And as I said, like the sewer line will have to be built before the school is built. And there's also like a few possible future street, which is shown on the localization plan, so it wouldn't block any future development. So they could use this access to do other development in the region. So your options are the same as always, like you can proceed or delay or just deny, but the staff recommends like to go ahead with the legal process. And the last slide, it's only like the timeline starting like in March 17, public hearings April 7, and the public presentation April 7, the public hearing May 20th. This concludes my presentation, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Robichaud. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, if you would like to rezoning Z-14-62 and then P-14-36-13P. Whereas the Municipal Council has received a request to change the zoning and land use map to institutional services of the property with PID 00882670 to allow the construction of a new school. Therefore, be it resolved that Council review the file to determine whether it is in the public interest to amend the zoning bylaw. Be it also resolved that the clerk, in the name and on behalf of the Council, arrange for public notice of the adoption of such bylaw to be published within the time prescribed by Section 25 of the Community Planning Act, and that a public presentation be made on April 7, 2025 at 6 o'clock in the Council chamber. Be it further resolved that the clerk shall, in the name and on behalf of Council, request to receive the opinion of the Southeast Planning Review Committee under Section 110 of the Community Planning Act by May 13, 2025. Be it further resolved that the clerk, in the name and on behalf of Council, arrange for public notice of the adoption of such bylaw to be published within the time prescribed by Section 111 of the Community Planning Act, and that the public hearing be set for May 20th, 2025 at 6 o'clock in the Council chamber to hear objections to the proposed bylaw. I shall move. Moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor John Steve. Questions? I have Councillor Roland Cormier remotely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if we want to go maybe to page 12 of the presentation, of the diagram. So we see like the red around the properties. They understand we only wanted like to use half of this diagram, or is it the full diagram we would be using like for the sale of the land of the province? Maybe I did not explain myself properly. So the request is only to rezone a portion of the property. So the portion like they would like to build. So the diagram we see like this is the scope of the rezoning. So it's not the whole property they would like to rezone, only the part that will be dedicated to schools. So it means like the diagram we have here, it's not really like the exact one we're asking for, because the property wasn't subdivided. So when I circle the property in red, it was only to identify the property, but part of the appendix of the bylaw is asking to be rezoned. Like it really includes like the part the school will be on. So what it means, when we'll have a public meeting for rezoning. So the diagram we're showing, we're seeing this evening, will not be the same. Councillor Cormier, page 1 of the report, at the bottom of page 1, you see like it shows there is like a lot in gray, so it shows you like a representation of the part of the line in red. If it give you like a better visual. Because if we go again, if we go back to page 12, Mr. Mayor. So this is the full lot. So the visual in page 1 or 2 you mentioned, is it? So this is a real request. Am I correct? Essentially, like it's more or less rectangular, just to identify the existing property that will be rezoned. That's what I thought, but I just wanted to clarify so I understood well. Perfect. Councillor Janice Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just out of curiosity, then nothing else. I see like where Ohio Road is, like the school will be like at the end of the lot. Will there be anything in place like the wood will stay, or will it be clear up to Ohio? So anything like in request like that they will be leaving some trees because there's still a campground. Like there's a lot of wood. Anything when we build the building like this, like we would be keeping some trees. So I don't have the specific information that they will be clearing the property, but I could ask the Department of Transportation to ask them for the intent. So what is it that between the Ohio Road and the property? I do not have like the specific answer, but you can always ask your question, but the Department of Transportation, what is their intent, and I could come back to it. Perfect. Councillor Peterborough, I have a question. So I'm not sure, like, if it goes here, but the inquiries from council will be the road, like, to the school. Do I have to wait like for a request for information, or the only thing I can tell you like the same thing I would say again when the time comes, since we're the project, then we see like a road, like the road hasn't been confirmed, so there's still some discussion to be held with the province to know, to see if it meets their goal. And an agreement is possible. Essentially, well, they will build their own entrance and it will remain a private street. This is the option they have, like to have a private entrance, or we would build a road as indicated. So this road will join Bellevue Street, and if we build it, well, we could continue, but so decision will be taken when. So will be not up to the town to build the road, right? I don't want to get into things like speculation at this time. We have to wait like until the province acquires the land, and once it's done, then we'll be able to act and ask those questions. And just to make sure we do have access and build a public road. We will not put all those efforts to invest $304,000 in plans to build a road once we're not done with the negotiating and the land hasn't been purchased. I think these are good concerns and good questions. Just want to reassure you, like we're on top of it, but we cannot go faster than the process. Right now, it's still a process. And of course, like the province is up to this point, so I think it made some progress. At least we'll be able to know where we're going with this, and if there will be like a municipal participation, it's not at all costs. But it's not at any cost for the province. It might be a combination that will be a win-win for everyone, but it will be to be followed. Thank you. On this note, for the motion on all in favor, saying aye. Against nay?
Adopté. Merci.
It's been carried. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Robichaud.
Thank you, Mr. Robichaud. So this ends your trio of presentations. So we had nothing at 11 for unfinished business and nothing like for intro to new business, but inquiries for council members. So usually it's always popular as point. It's the time if you have any. Councillor Janice Cormier. I asked many times, to know if we would be able to get some information or reports for the bylaw officers.
Mr. Leger was not here at that time. Is it possible to get a report from firefighters, different things happening in the city, from the bylaw officers, so that we would know what's happening, how many calls we get, dogs, and so on and so forth?
Des choses sans nécessairement du gros détail, mais des choses de base.
Not too many details, just high level. You know, people ask and they say, well, we don't think the bylaw officer is doing the job, or, you know, if we had numbers, that would be good to have some statistics. So they would, it would help justify why he's there. You know, if it gets too much from the numbers, you know, we can see if we can better manage this. When I got here in May 2023, up to January this year, we didn't have a software that allowed us to track all the complaints we were getting. And this became available in January this year. So now we're starting to use it now with members of the team. We'll be better be able to track the number of complaints we get for each issue. So we'll be able to prepare a way to present this today. Even in September would be okay. It would be nice to see on a monthly basis what happens with the bylaw officer.
Conseiller Jean-Claude Bertin.
Jean-Claude Bertin.
Je viens avec ma question.
Oui.
I come back with my question.
Le camion de pompier, est-ce qu'il vient des
The fire truck, you know, is it if it comes from the States, is it 25% tariff? If we check the contract per se, the price that the contract we got for the truck was an all-in price. It was to be delivered for that price. Will there be a tariff added after the truck is produced? I can't answer that question, but I can say we've asked, many municipalities have asked the same question for similar issues, and we're trying to get legal advice to make us aware, to answer the questions, you know, with the specific language that exists. Some municipalities are starting to look at new tenders, a language that would address that, you know, if more or less tariffs. Right now, our contract doesn't have that language, so we'd like an answer that would leave us more at ease. But for the time being, we don't see that tariff would be applied to this specific truck, but we're looking at the contract with our legal advisors to make sure that when we get there, that we have no surprise and that we're protected concerning that contract. I mentioned it already. You know, there's stops, people go too far or don't see it. Some places in Moncton where they have flashing on the stop sign. Is that something we could put in those two places here that with the stop sign? Renan Cormier.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Continue avec la question de Jean-Claude.
With Councillor, the delivery date for the truck.
Quand est-ce que la delivery date?
When is the delivery date?
J'ai pas la date spécifique, mais je peux.
I don't have the specific date, but I come back by email with a date.
2026 ou début 2027.
I think it's 2026, 2027.
Peut-être pas l'année prochaine.
Not this year, maybe not next
On
year.
croit que c'est fin 2026, fin 27.
And 26, early 27.
Deuxième question, Monsieur le
Second
maire.
question, Mr. Mayor.
À tous les 2 réunions de conseil, je
Every
demande
2
question.
meetings, I ask the same question. For more than a year, there's an environment committee that was struck and made a motion to set up a environment committee. The council was in agreement. We've accepted striking, setting up that committee last year. I suggested some modifications to my colleagues with the mayor. We've added some people. Some people passed away. Up to now, since it was set up, that committee, there's only been one meeting over a year ago, just one meeting with that committee. I think the municipal council was clear. This was going to be a committee that was going to look at the possibility of not implement, but here or not, municipal bylaw on environmental pesticides. We haven't done this yet. So, Mr. Mayor and Manager, I don't think it's acceptable that we're not there yet. I know you're going to say that you hadn't had the time. It's an excuse, but I think, but it's, if it's too much time, we have to get organized differently. It's not acceptable to not have the time to implement this. I would ask the manager, do we have
l'intention de peut-être appeler une réunion de ce comité?
a view when we were going to call a meeting of that committee?
Je peux la répondre vu que c'est
I can answer
envers moi.
since it's sent to me.
Vous mentir.
I'm not going to lie. The time is short. Meetings are plenty, a lot of it. Right now, we're focusing our efforts on strategic plan. We want to align this with different directions the difference we're undertaking now. I have no other reason to give, but that time is short. We're trying right now to finalize the strategic plan to present the issue, and then we will look at setting up those meetings. After that, I admit it took me some time to get that issue. I had a meeting with two ladies on the committee. They gave me a lot of information, an envelope with additional information I'd asked for. I haven't had a chance to go through everything they had, but it gave me an idea of the discussion that had been had. So I'm not dragging on it. We just haven't had a meeting because of the other time requirements. So thank you for the answer.
Je vais juste réitérer les propos du directeur
So
général.
to reiterate what he said,
Difficile d'avancer avec tout
in
en même
terms of
temps.
trying to move everything ahead at the same time, and the priority since he got here, although it has been started for, the change of that position did not help, of course, not accelerate
Avoir entamé le plan stratégique
to undertaking the strat plan and operational plan. This is still needs to move ahead as per request of the council. I think I hope we'll have to move ahead with that committee. We're getting to the destination with the operational plan, so we hope that'll take place soon after.
La demande, les données sur le radar, j'ai demandé 2-3 fois.
The radar data they asked,
J'ai pas eu d'informations, mais
I haven't had information if the team was able to get that or not. It's still on our list. The consultant is still working on it, but I haven't heard on it recently. Second item, a bit of concern.
Puis plus tard ce soir, on va mandater des consultants pour faire
You know, ask consultants to move the bigger projects, capital projects. Perhaps you guys can answer me. When are we going to work on the other projects? You know, there are projects that are important for the town, the town hall, library, so on. So we'll mandate the consultant to do analysis of our financial capacity. But if we don't have the 5-year plan on capital projects, you know, will that prolong, you know, the process for the rec center? So we can't put all our eggs in the same basket. Can you say, Ave, when you think that we'll be able to work on a list of the equipment that Public Works needs? Can you have an update? Yes, good point. For 3 weeks, we've had meetings with the consultant that helps us with to digest all of those assets to develop the 5-year plan. The big role that we need to set up or look after, we need to analyze where we're at with the present assets. We had some workshops up to now. We'll have others in the next few weeks. It's definitely something that's going to be part of the analysis in terms of finances for the rec center. I can also say I was not mandated yet specifically by the council since I arrived, but the issue of town hall is an issue that Bob and I have started to work on. I can say we have a date, you know, once we come back here, which avenue we'll take, how to. It's an issue that we have on that we've started on since the start of the new year. A lot of questions, a lot of files to manage. It has to be part of analysis of financial capacity to get a rec center. Will we have all those files concluded date? No, because it's going to be part of the 5-year plan. But we can do some pretty good projections on the amount of money that we're comfortable with based on the last few years on similar projects, and to see how we evaluate this financial situation with the rec center specifically. We'll talk about the deadline. The deadline, you know, 12 weeks starting tomorrow for the consultant to submit a report. So in 12 weeks, we also have to be ready. You know, do we borrow 20 or 50 million? It's not just the needs for the rec center. Yes, you're absolutely, you're bang on, but we need to inform the consultants about the other needs and to assess those things at the same time. Yes, thank you. Who's responsible for the Facebook page? Congratulations, very good news coming out of it, and so it's really well done. Thank you to the team. Leslie's disappointed that nobody put on green for tonight. So my last just last comment. I want to congratulate a communication officer who does incredible work. That's really a pearl in our team. So thank you. And my pants are green.
Des bas, des genres de choses.
Gloves and whatever.
Merci bien. Donc,
Thank you.
numéro 14.
14,
L'arrêté numéro 60, taxe d'hébergement.
Bylaw, tax lodging levy. So I would like to welcome our tourism development officer, like Mrs. Elodie.
Le directeur de développement économique.
So the director of economic development, and yes, he wanted to say something. I would like to invite Mélodie Martin. She is our tourism officer. Mélodie is working on the file for the levy, destination levy. So she put a lot of work. It's a major file. So we mandated the administration to go through. So we'd like to talk about the process, how we were able to find information, and what we are presenting this evening in the first reading of the bylaw. Mélodie, if you would like to start the process. Good evening, everyone. I will give you a little bit of context for those who are new in this file. We started, like a reminder, with those who were still here. So the mandate started in 2020, really, like, and since then, like, we went to like a pandemic. We had a lot of change, like in the lodging profile in Shediac, with new type of building, new operators who came in. So we asked like to reassess like the file within the council. So since then, we had roundtables with the operators. We created like a kind of working group with operators who will help us look at the bylaws, and they will help us to make progress on this file. And today we are here like to present what came out of this and to continue like the reading of the bylaws. So, and just to give you a little bit of numbers, like what is the Shediac profile as the lodging and the accommodation, we have 11 lodging accommodations that are not like a private VRBO or Airbnbs. We have 229 units included in this accommodation, and during the consultation with our operators, either like by phone or Zoom meetings or in-person meeting, or also like emails, we have 9 out of those accommodation were contacted to discuss like the tax levy and the lodgings. It does not include like a private accommodation like a VRBO or Airbnb or something like on Marketplace or Facebook. Okay, if you have the opportunity to look at bylaws, so I will listen. I will share with you something new added. It's coming from administration who is working with operators. We consulted. One thing, like I forgot to mention, we talk about tax. So operators do not like to see like the word taxes. So we look at what other municipalities we saw in the Anglophone. It's called destination marketing levy. So on the bills we see destination marketing fees. So it's a little bit more like we see like one night is plus tax and fees. It's a little bit easier like to look at those words. So we kind of played around with words. We modified like the description of a tourist accommodation. So we look what other were done. So we like the word they were written because we want like people understand it's a roof accommodation unless not exceeding 31 days. So we modify this. We added on a voluntary base. For now, like our bylaw does not include the campground. But if ever like a campground would like to be part of our marketing levy, they would be able to join our group on a voluntary basis, and then we could be talking about other accommodation very close to the town, but they're not part of other municipal bylaws with the accommodation. We changed the number of rooms, so our 4 rooms or more, now it's 1 room or more. So it gives us the option like to get people from Airbnb and VRBO, because you only need like 1 room and not exceeding 35 days to before. We modified like the application day. So it starts like January 1st, 2026. So it's give more like opportunity for us, like member of administration and finance, to put together some process to apply the bylaw. And we saw like we cannot like involve like levy with operation. It was new, like it's something new. But while talking with our operators, we're saying like we have like 80% reservation for next summer. So those reservations cannot apply that new levy. So we'll start with the new as January 1st, 2026. We also, I did like a quick or clearer definition of the 3.5%, the tax recommended the bylaw. So the way we wanted to explain, we want to make sure like the person can be add per night. It's not a tax ad or anything that the food that will be consumed at the hotel. It's really the price of the room for a night. So we wanted to make sure it was clear. So we also added a section for a special permit and registration. So to have like a VRBO, Airbnb or private property under the 31 days, like people will have to apply for special permit. This permit will give access to better like manage the bylaw on private properties. So we added this registration, and for those who would want to participate on a volunteer basis, they have to apply. The permit you see in the terms of reference for now it's 0, because we want to help people to get used to this bylaw. We specify like the billing period for the interest of operator. What would be the easiest to develop a report, and also for our finance department, 4 times a year, quarterly reports would be better for them. So that's something we added in the bylaw. And we also added Appendix A and B. Appendix A explained like the administration of the tax, and Appendix B terms of reference to help the committee who will manage this levy to guide them like how to develop and to make sure we use this tax for the years to come. So these are pretty much the modifications we did, and the new things we added with our operators who helped us on what they thought would work for them and also for the town. So if you read the bylaw and if you have any questions, I can help you. Thank you for the presentation, Melanie. A few council members have questions. First, Councillor Roland Cormier, remotely.
Merci.
Thank you. It's one of the bylaw. It's something dear to my heart, because for several times I've been mentioning like to see where we're at with that one. It's an opportunity like to get additional revenue from our tourists who are coming to visit our nice town. So we are able to take this money and invest in publicity to invite more people like to come and see us in Shediac. So I would like to congratulate you. And I saw like I read the bylaw with a great interest. So I will go to item part 11, like on the bylaw. So we're talking a cap of 20,000. If I understand, like a cap of $20,000, like I do not disagree with this. Out of my experience, like to change bylaws once they've been adopted, it really takes a lot of time. Like because I've only been here for 2 years, I would encourage you maybe to look at. I would encourage you to look maybe like better wording, maybe in my opinion. Inflation rate, because and maybe like you will never get to $20,000 like for administration, but once you're there, you will never change it because you will be stuck like with the bylaw. Might be more constructive if it was already there. And
Une que je suis extrêmement
One that
déçu qu'elle est pas
I'm
là.
really deceived that it's not
Je suis
there,
pas d'accord qu'elle est pas là.
and I do not agree for it.
C'est les
That is
parcs à
not
roulements.
it's the campground, the trailer parks, like for 31 days or less.
Moi, je pense que on doit voir ça.
I think it should be there.
C'est pas une question de volontaire. c'est
It's
une
not a
question
matter of
de
voluntary basis.
justice.
It's a question of
Si
justice.
quelqu'un vient dans notre municipalité
If someone
pour
comes to our
une
municipalities
soirée, 2 soirées,
to stay
3
1 or
soirées,
2 nights or 3 nights and decide, well,
le taux,
the rate
moi, je pense pas
is the
qu'on
rate,
peut
I don't
exclure
think
parce que tout
we
cet
should
argent-là
exclude them
qu'on va
because all is the money
réinvestir en termes de
we will
tourisme,
reinvest
ça
in
va
terms
pas
of
seulement
tourism. It's not
aider
something
les
will not only help
propriétaires
like
de
the
logements ou
the
d'hôtels,
owners of
avoir
motels or
aider
hotels. It will also
tous les
help
commerçants touristiques
all the
qui trouvent
businesses
ça pas juste
who
que
works
il y
in
a
tourism.
deux poids, deux mesures.
And I
Moi,
don't
pour
find
moi,
it's
je pense
fair.
pas
Like
qu'on
in my
peut,
opinion,
qu'on
I
peut
don't
aller
think
là.
we should go there.
Puis, la question que il y a
And the
peut-être
question maybe
des
that
logements qu'on
there
va
might be like some units
permettre d'être
that will be allowed to register on a volunteer
Peut-être
basis.
on l'implique, on implémente l'arrêté ou on
We
l'implémente
are
pas. On peut pas dire,
implementing
vous
like
autres,
the bylaw
vous
or
voulez
we
pas,
don't.
c'est correct.
See, if you don't
Peut-être je l'ai
want,
mal
it's still
compris. Si
okay.
je l'ai mal
Maybe
compris,
I did
alors,
not understand
je
it
vais m'excuser,
properly,
mais
but
c'est pas une question
I will
de
apologize. But
question
it's
de
not
dire que,
voluntary. Like
on
we
vous
do
a
it
donné
or
un
we
mois
do
et
not do
demi,
it.
ben, 2 ans
Let's say
qu'on
we give
avance,
you like
en 2005, vous disiez, mais c'était pas là.
you see, we're saying
Peut-être
2020,
tu peux
but
commenter sur
maybe you could comment
ces préoccupations sur l'arrêt.
on those my concerns. Yes, I will start with the last voluntary. Well,
C'est pas à base de volontaire pour les
it's not voluntary like for operators that are within the municipality of Shediac. It's only voluntary for people who would be in the neighboring municipalities because they're not part of the municipal bylaw. So the operators within the town of Shediac, it's not voluntary, it's mandatory.
Celle-là, je suis d'accord.
Oui.
Now I agree.
Essaye-toi avec les roulottes, Asta.
Then you can try with the trailers.
Ça a été une discussion qui a été
The RVs, well, it was a discussion that was tackled like the first time we brought the readings. But we did the evaluation of the study. So what it will bring us back, because they were included in the first consultations, and the majority of our campgrounds, they have a high percentage of seasonal. So for the numbers of sites that are available, like for tourism, like just to come here for a few days was very small. Another 31 days, and for the amount that would get, it would be a big file to bring, like for the number of a unit that would be available for tourism. With the analysis, can you share some numbers? We were looking maybe at 5,000, 5 to 10,000, like for units that were available here in Shediac. 5 to 10,000, like for the lodging tax or the marketing levy at 3.5%. And we're always calculating our tax. It's calculated with 50% of capacity because we're not, because it would not be like a 100% capacity, like 365 days. I would like to see those numbers. Could it be circulated to the council? Like, of course, it's confidential, but these are forecasts. But I would like to see, like, because you were, Mr. Mayor, you will circulate it. So I will see it. So I don't want to argument. So with your experience with the studies like you did, are there any municipalities in the region that would have some taxes on the a destination levy to the campgrounds or trailer parks? Other municipalities, so there were 3 in the province. So the majority of the municipalities, they adopted like the bylaw without the campgrounds. After 1 or 2 years, like they reassessed the file and they added it. You said 3? Yeah, they have 3 like out of 200 something campground. I just wanted to make make sure, like,
Les black sheep of the
we
family.
were not the black sheep of the family,
Merci.
that we are following the rules. Thank you. And that is a good report.
Merci, Conseil Cormier.
Thank you, Councilor Peterborough. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So my question was
le taux de 3,5%.
the rate of 3.5%.
Moi, j'étais sur l'impression que dans les autres
I was under the impression other areas, I remember one time it was $2 like per night.
je ne sais pas pourquoi est-ce que vous avez utilisé un pourcentage.
I don't know why you use a percentage instead of a fixed amount. And I think a fixed amount is more acceptable than a percentage, because a percentage is $3.5 dollars. It's $3.50. So was there a reason why we did not get to the fixed rate instead of a percentage? We went like what was used like all over Canada and in New Brunswick. So we work with the consultant for this file, and this is the recommendation that came to standards what was happening like in Canada, the province. So no one's using fixed amount anymore. No, some places it's higher, and some places it started lower and increased, but the majority it's 3%.
Y compris ceux-là qui sont de notre
including like those in our province and region. So we're all at 3.5.
Parfait. Merci. Conseil Paul Boudreau.
Councilor Paul Boudreau, thank you. A couple of questions were asked and answered. So my colleagues, you refer to Airbnbs and VRBO. What is your strategy like for either to encourage them like to participate like so that's the main reason we put like the section for permits by adding the permit section. So once it's adopted, we have to send a lender to Airbnb and VRBO and all those sites. And once they get the letter, and once it's a municipal bylaw, and the permit is required, if you put your listing on Airbnb, VRBO, or any private, say Airbnb will ask you if you have your permit number, because they got your, it becomes a law with Airbnb. So my colleague asked some questions for other municipalities, for the VRBOs, any municipalities, some municipalities are doing this. As we know, like we work a lot, like we exchange like tourism information with the city of Charlottetown. So we're very useful, like to help us because they're doing this project process with Airbnb. Two quick questions for cottages. Will they be targeted? They will need their permits at Airbnb. If it's a private location, or if it's commercial, but will be the same as like a bed and breakfast or hotel. Like cottages, like private cottages, they will still need their permit. If they're in Shediac, in my last one, does it cover like the greater Shediac or new Shediac? So does it cover like the old Shediac, the municipality of Shediac? Like yes, for the bylaw. So Pointe du Chêne, Scodoc, everyone.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, so for tourism, like since she has the mic after the other colleagues ask their question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, he has pretty much any question, but for Airbnb, I had another question. It was on the cottages, so it has to be less than 31 days. So I don't know if it's done like in the last couple of years, they rented like per week, but in the winter, they could rent a cottage like for the 4 months, or do they have to charge a tax? So when it's a reservation less than 31 days, if it's more than 31 days, they don't charge a tax. And this information, like they will have to provide it in the report every 4 months. So if you put 4 months, it would be excluded, like in the calculations.
Curieux sur le
Councilor
tourisme.
Baudry? Yes, on tourism.
Bravo pour le rapport. Bravo pour
First, bravo for the report.
plusieurs temps avec des gens de l'Ontario puis du
I
Québec.
spend a lot of time with people from Quebec and Ontario,
Passe au sud de-
and what's happening like the south of the border,
Il y a beaucoup
and
d'intentions de venir
so they have the
dans notre pays.
intention like to
Pouvez-vous
come in our area. So,
collaborer avec la commission régionale ou la
so are you
province
working with the province or the regional service commission?
de cette attitude que les
Maybe to benefit from the attitude that Canadians will stay home, like we did not get any specific decision avec DMO or anything like
nous autres, nos campagnes sont déjà commencées, ils sont
our
déjà par l'Ontario.
our campaigns are already seen by Ontario and Quebec residents, so we'll continue to strengthen those campaigns. Like it's mostly for those regions. So we get specifically because of the rates. Certainly a topic I can discuss more with them, like with the Quebecers on Gunquit and Olorchard, they're not interested anymore. So our operators, they're getting a lot. We need a spot. I'm looking forward to to see the result. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. That's all.
Merci, Mélodie.
Monsieur le directeur.
So, Mr. CEO, Director, first I would like to recognize and thank Melody for the work, and I think she explained the process really well. I think better than what I could. It was clear, and just maybe a quick anecdote for the permits. It's not permission; it's just the register. We want the individual to register. We're not giving like the permits if they can operate or not. Like we're talking about the permit. We're saying it very quickly, like. These will be registered, and we'll see like the black market exists. We ask for cottages, so this black market, well, marketplace, and if we see it, well, yes, we have an address, but if it's not registered, it goes against our bylaws as an offense to the municipal code. So, and then we send a letter to the owner, so they have to register. The only two things I wanted to add, and I wanted to congratulate Melody because she did. Paul, my equipe is wearing like green to this evening.
Parfait.
Merci.
Merci bien.
Thank you.
Donc,
So,
pour le 14.1.1,
for 14.1.1, we need someone to read that motion. Councillor Germaine Galland. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First reading.
mais pas long.
It's not long. That the bylaw entitled bylaw number 60, a bylaw relating to the destination marketing levy, be read first time by its title. Moved by Councillor Germaine Galland, seconded by Councillor Bourque-Chevary. Questions on the motion? All in favor saying aye. Against nay.
Adopté.
It's been carried.
Arrêté numéro 60,
Bylaw 60, bylaw on the tourism levy by the town of Shediac. Councillor Germaine. That we accept the first reading of bylaw number 60 by its title, moved by Councillor Germaine Galland, seconded by Councillor Patricio Bourque-Chevary. Any other question? If not, all in favor saying aye. Against nay.
Adopté.
Carried. Councillor Germaine can continue with that the bylaw entitled bylaw number 60, a bylaw relating to the destination marketing levy, be read for a second time by its title. Moved by Councillor Germaine Galland, seconded by Patricio Bourque-Chevary. All in favor saying aye. Against nay.
Adopté.
Carried. Mr. Clerk.
Arrêté numéro 60, arrêté
concernant l'hébergement touristique dans la ville de Shediac. Like the bylaw in the town of Shediac. To accept the second reading of bylaw number 60 by its title. Moved by Councillor Germaine Galland, seconded by Councillor Patricio Bourque-Chevary. All in favor saying aye. Against nay. Carried. One last motion. Be it resolved that the proceed reading by summary instead of integral for the bylaw as allowed in the Article 15.3 of the local governments, it also resolved that we publish like the project bylaw on our website twice over the next 2 consecutive works, and that a copy be available for consultation at the town hall as allowed 15.3 on the local governance. I shall move, Mr. Mayor, moved by Councillor Germaine Galland, seconded by Councillor Bourg-Chevary. Questions on the motion? Councillor Janice Comey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What is the third reading? I did not see that before. We did it previously, like with the animal control, like we discussed it, and we presented it in December. It's a provision. Instead of reading it in entirety, you read 6 or 7 or 8 pages. We come back with a summary that will allow like the other aspect of the obligation. We still have to publish it on the website so people can see it. So we'll use the website and Facebook. And there's also it's a disposition. The third reading will be done, but it will be a little bit shorter. Save a little bit of time. Perfect. All in favor, saying passing aye. Against nay. Carried. Thank you.
On a un frais d'hébergement qui s'en vient.
So we have marketing levy that coming up, like so bigger municipalities and even smaller municipalities. So as well, might as well try. 15, motion and resolution. So we have a first motion, 15.1 for the asphalt resurfacing. Monsieur McCoon might give us the background for this one. Yes, good evening, everyone. So we'll go to tender, like for asphalt patching, with the tender closing in March 13. So we got 5 quotes, and the lowest bid was McCarter's Paving and Construction, and the budget for this work was $250,000. So the lowest bid was $269,527.70 net HST included. The recommendation that we go with the patching budget and put the missing funds to take it from the with the road repair account, if we have a space for this. And we need a motion.
So we need a motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There will be resolved to award the asphalt patching contract. PS 25-23075, Arthur's Paving and Construction Incorporated, in the amount of $269,527.70 net. HST included funds will come from the account 1-23075 road resurfacing, and the shortfall of $19,527.17 will come from the account 1-23074 street repair.
Proposé par le conseiller Jean-Claude Bertrand, puis du conseiller.
So moved, supported, seconded as well. Question.
Oui, une question à Bob, s'il vous plaît. Comment est-ce que vous faites pour déterminer,
how do you determine
pour lancer le tender,
to send a tender, how many yards or square meters you're going to need to repair the streets? You know, how's it done? It's based on the experience, and we work with the local consultant that helps us determine the volume.
Unit price.
It's on a unit price basis, X number of tons of asphalt in the tender, square meters, those parts that will be done. So we adjust on a yearly basis, but it's based on historical. I saw the contract, and the deadline has to be done by June 2nd. Is that real? That past year we were lucky with that, and yes, we were able to do that.
J'ai vu aussi sur le contrat.
Question manager, I saw the contract, a lot of be done on the main. Are we reimbursed by the province? It's their road 133. Are we reimbursed for that?
C'est une bonne question.
Good question. I don't have the answer specific. Normally on big projects, we do partnerships on the patching. I don't have the answer, but I can get that information from memory. I may be wrong, but I don't remember for patching, but for works in 22 and 24, the province took part with a good sum. In 26, there'd be on eastern Maine, where the province already announced their contribution. So then we do the whole thing, the culvert and so on.
La stratégie, c'est mill and mill, faut que c'est le terme pour ça.
Mill and pave.
Mill and pave, I know it's more expensive, but it lasts longer. It's more smooth. So yeah, if the province could help us to smooth things out, yes, that'd be great.
Conseil Joël Després?
Joël Després.
C'est moi qui ai pesé ton piton.
No question, sorry.
Parfait. Donc, j'avais proposé appuyer. Non. Tout le monde en faveur en diront oui.
So all those in favor say aye.
Contre non.
Contrary minded nay.
Merci.
Motion carried.
Sinon, c'est un de vous autres qui allait faire le remplissage des nids de poules.
If not, you would have to fill in
Numéro 15.2, octroi de contrat.
15.2, contract awarding, road marking.
Jeunesse Cormier, tu vas en faire la lecture?
You want to read that?
Octroi de contrat traçage des voies de circulation.
So, pavement marking, it resolved to award 2025 pavement marking contract to Four Seasons Sports Limited for a value of $87,603.98. Net HT included funds will come from account 1-230083 pavement marking. So moved.
Jeunesse Cormier, appui du conseiller Joël
So
Després.
seconded Joël Després. Question.
Conseiller Peter Breau.
Monsieur le maire, en 2022, on avait signé
In
un contrat de
22,
avec eux autres.
we signed a 3-year contract with them. I know there's a 2-year option.
Est-ce qu'il y avait question, il n'y a pas question d'entente de
So,
renouveler pour un autre 3 ans?
Is it an idea of renewing for 3 years or?
Vas-y, monsieur DG.
Tout de
Allez,
suite,
go ahead.
on utilise
Right now,
de renouveler.
we're using the renewal option
On aimerait
1 additional year.
tender
We'd like to go to a tender next year.
Dans le contrat, puis
In the contract,
il y avait un prix automatique de
there was an automatic price, 10% adjustment
on a pu négocier
between years.
un montant moindre que
We're able to negotiate a lower amount.
que
So we see
l'offre est encore valide.
the offer is still valid
rendu et on aimerait voir
based on where we're at, and we would like to see
une année pour se permettre à préparer
another year to prepare a long-term tender
Alors, l'option,
like we've done before.
est-ce qu'on est encore...
So the 2-year option, no, we're not stuck with that.
le contrat cette année, c'est pour
The contract this year is for 1 year,
qui était ajouté.
additional year,
on n'est pas obligé de-
which was added to the contract.
En soumission l'année prochaine.
So we don't need to take them next year.
Si. Donc,
So,
avec aucune autre question,
no other question.
vous appuyez, tout le monde en faveur.
Moved, seconded, all those in favor say aye, contrary minded nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Motion carried.
Numéro 15.3.
15.3 is net zero municipality.
Conseiller Patricia Boucherie, tu voulais en faire la lecture?
Would you want to read it?
M. Pellerin qui allait faire donner un petit peu d'arrière-plan là-dessus.
Mr. Pellerin will just give some background. We had good news, as we saw. We had the mandate to ask the government for funds to access the second phase of net zero. The good news is we asked for 2 years, but they gave 1 year funding, which is still excellent. It's 451,000 we got for 20,000 that comes from federal program.
La municipalité est 31 000.
The municipal's part is 30,000.
451, juste mettre au
451
administration de 41 000.
and administration fee 41. If you do the math, it's going faster.
Parfait.
Merci.
Madame la conseillère?
So,
Municipalité net zéro. Étant donné
whereas the town of Shediac has been able to secure 420,000 funding from the federal government to launch the second phase of the net zero municipality strategy, it resolved that the municipal council authorizes the administration to sign an agreement with the federal government to launch the second phase of the net zero municipality project. So moved.
Posé par la conseillère Patricia Bouk-Chevary.
So moved.
Conseiller Jean-Claude Bertin.
Jean-Claude Bertin seconds. Question?
Voyons rien. Tout le monde en faveur, nous dirons.
All those in favor say aye.
Contre, non.
Contrary minded, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Motion carried. 15.4 Municipal Financing Corporation.
Madame la directrice des finances allait juste nous faire un survol.
You want to do an overview?
Le survol, c'est que c'est les projets, dans le fond,
The projects that are done, we're ready to get a long-term project. Pleasant Street, Maine, Bellevue,
la Harper,
Victoria, Saint-Joseph, dead end Saint-Joseph.
représente un montant de 16 220.
It represents 16,200,000.
Aux capitaux d'emprunt.
Okay.
So
pas le chiffre exact initial.
I don't have the exact number, but I know that it's less than what had been authorized at first.
Merci.
Thank you.
Tu vas en faire la lecture.
T'es prêt?
Filmant 15.4, Corporation de financement des municipalités.
So,
Il soit résolu.
be it resolved that the clerk, treasurer, and mayor be authorized to issue and sell to the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation a 16,200,000 debenture from the municipality of Shediac according to conditions stipulated by the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation. Be it also resolved that the municipality of Shediac issue post-dated checks to the order of New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation upon request to pay the principal and interest on the debenture.
Proposé par le conseiller Joël.
So moved, seconded, Galland.
Yes. Madame la directrice, je voulais.
Oui, je viens de voir qu'il y a une.
I see
16 200,000.
it's not 16,200,000. It should be 16,220,000. So one, two more. So at least it's in the middle of the figure, not at the start.
C'est juste le mauvais chiffre qui est dans la motion.
So just the wrong number. So for mover and seconder, you agree with this? We can correct it.
Oui. Donc, puis comme ceci, essentiellement, ça va.
This essentially will go from temporary funding to permanent funding with the commission.
Monsieur Greffier va faire le changement.
So he's going to make that change.
Sur ce, question.
So, question. All those in favor say aye.
Contre, non.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried.
15.5.
15.5, Recreation Center.
Qui va donner l'arrière-plan?
Who's going to give context?
Julie. Madame, c'est vrai, j'aurais dû deviner. Madame Bélanger.
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
Thank you.
On est présentement à l'étape.
We're presently at step 3.4. 3 and 4 for development of the rec center, as mentioned. We wanted to put an amount to assess the capacity of the municipality and to prepare our business plan based on the services available. So in January, we sent different call for tender to several businesses that we know internally, businesses that were referred to us by other members of the committee. So in the end, 3 businesses have answered the call. So of the 3 businesses she just mentioned, we set up a 6-person internal committee to assess the different candidates. And during the assessment, it was fairly specific what we were looking for. So it was the expertise in doing business plans for similar projects. So the understanding, financial, operational, and so on and so forth for recreation centers. So in the end, the committee was unanimous in their deliberation to and assessing with Group BC2 because the experts in such installations in municipal level, and they've already completed similar studies for other organizations in other municipalities. We focused on and recommend to offer the contract to Group BC2. So we had the amount of money to undertake this, so we have enough money to go ahead.
Merci, Madame la Directrice.
So, thank you.
Conseiller Paul Boudreau, tu vas faire la lecture?
Oui, avec plaisir.
So Recreation Center, be it resolved that the Municipal Council accept the recommendation of administration to retain the proposal services of Group BC2 for an amount of $37,800 plus HST, and that this sum comes from special projects and infrastructure supportive account. I'll have a couple of comments after. So moved and seconded.
Conseiller Boudreau, question.
So you had a question. So I'm happy that I saw the firm have done several work in Caracat and DM. What I'm wondering about
if you could refer to the plan prepared by Luc, the development plan. So I was under the impression the next step would include the steps 3 to 7 altogether. I will tell you why those steps would be together, but so what we are asking, the mandate we're asking to this company, it's a financial evaluation of the infrastructure that the population would like to see. Because I see Luc's report. So the steps say the choice of installation. So how this the group will be able to do this study if we did not decided what we would like to get as infrastructure? So we're asking this group what it will cost to operate the infrastructure, or build it. It's really an administration, but so it will be evaluated to provide us with a report if they say how much it will cost. I don't know if you would like to maybe shed some light on this. We went from 3 to 7 with some kind of option to see but we would like to see so yes, you're right. We have to evaluate the design style. So design style will be impacted by the capacity of the municipality to offer services. So we have an idea of this idea to see what we will those who will be able to keep and those who won't be able to keep. So with this, we're studying for the land, it will have an impact on the design style. All of this will be work internally, and we will be working with the company to share this information.
Puis la campagne de financement qui est à l'étape 5.
The financial campaign also step 5, like the financial will be impacted like on our capacity and all like the grants available. Very good. But with the timeline, like we have 12 weeks like before we can submit the report, 3 months. So during 3 months, like us with the administration, with the council members, we have to determine. So what we will get for, is it 2 ice surface, like an Olympic pool? What? You see where I'm going with this? We need to have something specific to give to this group so they can get back to us. We can spare this, or can you see my concern in 3 months of work? We'll be able to decide like what we want for infrastructure. I know we all have ideas. We have to give the information, but at the beginning of the process, well, and their team, they have to provide us like information. Am I too concerned for this one? Listen, like the director, like paraphrase, like the steps were done internally. But right now, if I'm saying I have no idea how much it will cost, we'd be lying. Because we did a little bit of work internally with Luc Bugeaud, the consultant, to see what would be the operation fees according to what the group would like to see. The BC2 group.
No,
not BC2 group, but according to the public consultation. So So we have kind of ideas of the operation and the need for manpower to manage a center like this one. At the end of the day, would be like a worst case scenario, like we could. We have some savings depending on the infrastructure you would like to build. If you say you only want to buy like 2 ice surface, like no like pools, like you would lose some savings by adding a pool because you are recuperating some energy courses. So we are making assumptions like based on the public consultations that we had, but the final decision on what will be built will stay like in the council. Absolutely, and an option for the construct or style or type of, will we go with traditional, so we pay for a design and we tender, or would it be a build design? So we ask for a consultant. This is our parameters. That's what we would like to see in the building. So just propose like maybe a drawing. All those questions will be answered like later. So the federal window could be closed very, very quickly, like depending what's happening in Ottawa. So I like the 12 weeks timeline. So I'm confident like to deliver like the work, the results, so we can continue with the funding for other like and also like the federal window will be there or will not be there, so we have no control on this. So we have control how fast we want to make progress. Well, up to the extent the file can go forward. It's not something that will not be done like in the 1 week and a half, but at the end of the day, like if the council wants to adopt a resolution to say like we're ready to build the center for X amount of money, like you can do it. Of course, we not recommend like to follow like this route. We're more recommending an approach like to study the file and then make an informed decision. So that's what we're doing. So I'm looking forward to see the report. Thank you, Judith. Councillor Patricia and Councillor Cormier. It might come to talk again what Paul was discussing earlier, like will we do our study like internally with the capacity, what we can borrow like with all the other projects. It will be done by us, right? It's information we'll have to share with them. So the consultant will be able to take this into consideration to say what. So the other money you spend on ABC will not be available for Project F.
Faut qu'il y ait un-
global.
faut qu'il y ait un portrait global du portefeuille.
We need a global picture of the wallet. Councillor Lacormier, remotely.
Merci, Monsieur le maire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So congratulations, Julie. I like your approach. In terms
Vraiment, qu'est-ce que la capacité de notre
to see what is the capacity of our municipality to pay. And once exercise is done, to know what is our capacity to pay and what the elected officials are ready to pay. Of course, like the citizens after, then we'll be able to take a more informed decision. So it's one step, and I like the approach, and I'm looking forward, like the other councillors, to see what what this document will look like.
Donc, sur ce,
on this note,
oui. Tous en faveur, en diront oui.
All in favor signify by saying aye, against nay.
Adopté, merci.
Carried, thank you.
Numéro 15.6.
15.6 study for planning and development services. I will present this file at the December meeting. The council adopted a resolution asking the administration to look at the possibility to offer their own services for planning, and also to see if there would be any possible partners for this avenue. So during the resolution, like we said, of course, like it's a matter we can look into, but to see how much it costs for a planner and how much does it cost for all those things, it has to meet like some criteria or comparable services we have to offer. We're not able like to do this analysis. So we had some discussions with a few different partners, either like the Service Commission or the CAO, or even the planning director, asking like if they could get advice how we could study this question with the help of this the consultant. There are many like consultants here, and there's not a ton of them giving services specialized or on the planner, and so we recommended like 3 firms to help us study this question. So we approach like those 3 firms to see if there would be an interest to help us study this question for specific criteria. So we included within the memo that we provided you, and we also asked like to get it back before the budget process for 2026. Then the council will be able to take a decision either to maintain the service or to explore like a further like the planning and planification services. We got like 2 prices out of 3. Out of the 3 companies we asked, so the lowest bidder was the one where I recommended like to look into this study for an amount of 27,841 plus HSC, so result an amount of 28,000, because we do not want, let's say like there's an extra photocopier just to give a little bit of margin, and the council has an amount for special projects, so we're recommending to the council to take this amount to start this study for special projects of the council. But in the memo, if you have any questions, we're always ready to answer your question if the council want to make some progress. Councillor Després, if you would like to read it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Studies of planning and development services be it resolved that the municipal council accept the recommendation from the administration to retain the proposal for services from Stantec Consultant Inc. for an amount not exceeding 28,000 plus HST, and as this sum comes from the council special projects account. I shall move by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Questions on the motion? Councilor Paul Boudreau, Yves, was it mentioned that we could collaborate with Capacadi? Is it part of this one? Is part of the original resolution? We have to look if there are any partners interested to be part of the service offer. I already had some preliminary discussion with the neighboring community to see if there would be any interest, but of course, for planning, we'll ask them to do some work to include the possibilities of possible partners that might be able to join their service offer if we would offer the service. I cannot talk, say what directive. I can say I have a direction from neighboring municipalities, and there are one that showed interest, and some of them said we would rather keep status quo. And we might be able to look at the future. But this decision has to be taken at their respective councils. A lot of those decisions that were asked, how much will it cost? And so that's where the analysis is important, that will be started of the cost for us to offer the services and what type of sharing we're looking at, in terms of a shared cost, so they can have their own analysis to see what are their fees, with the Plan 360 and the Regional Service Commission. So great work.
Councillor Janice Cormier.
Councillor Janice Cormier, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oui, très excité de voir ceci sur.
Yes, very excited to see this on the table. And so Plan 360, they came to talk about planning a while back, and we did not get any updates since then, since we gave information. To the last time we talked, maybe to hire someone to help us. Could we ask them maybe for an update? I could tell you it's a discussion I had with the planning director, because when I mentioned the resolution the council did, well, initially yes, you are kind of undressing ourselves. No, we want to assess the question, and until the council takes a decision, we are a client of Plan 360, so we want to continue to have access to your service. So the deliverables we ask you, and you committed to the municipal review, and all those things, they're not changing. It's still a go. You continue, and I also asked to provide us. Let's say a question would be asked, where we at? I did not get an answer, but it's a follow up I did with them, with this question. And I also asked the planning director that I would like to, and him and his department, actively participate to help a consultant in those studies, because of course Plan 360, we see the deliverables of permit, we see Phil and Jeff coming to our meeting, but there's a lot of things done behind the scenes, that either the mapping or the inspection of building inspection and things that you might not see, but it is part of the bill. So we want to make sure Plan 360 will participate in this study, so they can mention the service, so we can account them and see a comparison of what we're doing and the one we're looking at, so they're similar. Thank you very much. And as a councillor, several councillors were done. One study was transportation master plan that's coming to my mind. Yes, it's completed, but we did not see it yet. It has to be adopted, so either Plan 360 or someone else. It's a lot of research. For strategic planning, operational plan, well, we are putting some dates, like you would like to see, like, and some
transportation master plan.
transportation master plan. So we have some timelines, like we would like to follow within this. A lot of studies, and I agree with you. But we want to see, like, then, like when we have studies, and once the report is finished, it belongs to the council. It's up to the council to decide, like, the light of those report.
Conseiller Roland Cormier.
Councillor Roland Cormier.
Merci, M. le maire. Y a-t-il une timeline?
Thank you. Is there a timeline? So we asked, like, so it's be returned, like, before, like, the 2026 budget process. So we're looking for October to get an answer. Bravo on this recommendation. And I was the councillor that brought it to the council, and I think it's a great exercise to see if the services, if we have the right services, if we are paying, like, for the value. And I think that the council could do, like, more, like, a decision to go with this project, and saying no, like, to the citizen of the greater Shediac, or for the price we pay. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Donc, sur ce,
on this note,
on dira oui.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
It's been carried. Thank you.
Et sur le dernier,
and the last one, appointments to committees this evening, but it's the advisory committee on the composition of the municipal council. As I sent you by email, I recommend some members following, like, the motion. We had the council that was asking to strike a committee with 3 council members and 3 citizens. So I recommend, like, the people you see in the resolution. Councillor Roland Cormier remotely, Councillor Paul Boudreau, Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau, and also as a citizen, Mr. Gérard Béliveau, Shediac resident, Paul Lang, and Ed Doherty, also, like, a Pointe-du-Chêne resident. I need someone to read the motion. Councillor Janice Cormier, thank you, Mr. Whereas the town of Shediac deems it appropriate to evaluate the composition of its municipal council,
étant donné qu'il s'agit avant tout de bien représenter la population et qu'il est important de réunir des gens des différentes parties de la municipalité, qu'il soit résolu que les personnes suivantes soient nommées pour former ce comité: le conseiller Roland Cormier, le conseiller Paul Boudreau, la mairesse suppléante Sylvie Colette Boudreau, Gérard Béliveau, résident de Shediac, Paul Lang, résident de Shediac, Ed Doherty, résident de la Pointe-du-Chêne. J'en fais la proposition, M. le maire.
Proposé par la conseillère Janice Cormier, appuyé de conseiller Jean-Claude Bertin. Question. Conseiller Roland Cormier.
Merci, M. le maire. J'aimerais amender la proposition conseillère Cormier, puis j'expliquerai après s'il y a quelqu'un qui veut seconder. J'aimerais de modifier l'amendement en excluant Gérard Béliveau, résident de Shediac, puis en ajoutant Marc-André Arsenault, résident de Shediac. Je le propose, monsieur.
Donc, j'ai un amendement. Est-ce qu'il y aurait un appuyeur? Conseiller Joël Després appuie l'amendement. Sur l'amendement, je vous permets quelques mots.
Merci, monsieur le maire. Le raisonnement de l'amendement, je pense que c'est un bon comité. Je pense qu'il y a quelque chose qui manque dans le comité. C'est pour ça que je fais la recommandation. Monsieur Arsenault est citoyen de la ville de Shediac toute sa vie, presque 50 ans. Monsieur Arsenault est résident du vieux Shediac et le New Shediac moitié-moitié, propriétaire d'un commerce de Shediac qui était installé pas trop loin du Charlie's Metro à un moment donné, qui a venu trop gros puis déménagé dans le parc industriel. un homme d'affaires impliqué dans la communauté depuis 20 ans, le vice-président de la Chambre des commerces de Shediac. Je pense qu'on a besoin de quelqu'un avec de l'expérience pour être comme businessman. On a besoin de quelqu'un du centre-ville, on a besoin de quelqu'un de la communauté d'affaires. Puis, monsieur le maire, c'est pour ça que je fais l'amendement. Puis, j'avais vu que monsieur le conseiller Joël, on nous avait suggéré ça que 3 semaines passées, que M. Arsenault serait un bon candidat. Merci, M. le maire.
Merci, conseiller Cormier. Sur l'amendement, conseiller Peterborough.
Oui, question sur l'amendement. Pourquoi éliminer Gérard Béliveau? Y a-t-il une raison spécifique ou vous pensez que Gérard Béliveau a quand même été gérant de la ville à un moment donné?
À 2 reprises.
Oui, à 2 reprises. Alors, je pense que la personne que vous parlez de mettre sur le comité est excellent, mais j'essaie juste de comprendre pourquoi on enlèverait Gérard Béliveau.
Monsieur le maire, c'est que le conseil, la dernière réunion qu'on a eue, le conseil avait décidé d'avoir 6 citoyens, 6 membres du comité, 3 citoyens puis 3 conseillers. Il faut qu'on en l'autre un, c'est qu'on veut en ajouter un. Puis moi, je pensais que la personne-là, fallait qu'on en l'autre un. Puis c'est sûr que la motion dit de l'enlever, monsieur le conseiller Bro.
Non, c'est mon chaise musicale, pour le dire. Je comprends bien. Moi-même, j'avais recommandé, comme je dis, c'était le rôle du maire de recommander des gens. Moi, je recommandais M. Béliveau en raison de son expérience. On connaît son expérience, qu'est-ce qu'il a apporté pour la ville de Shediac. Est un expert en affaires municipales. Donc, c'est des très bonnes qualités pour cette question-là à être examinée. Et on votera sur l'amendement. C'est simple. Autre question. Conseillère Janice Cormier.
Merci, M. le maire. J'ai comme l'avis de conseiller Bro. Je pense vraiment que Gérard Béliveau a sa place sur le comité-là pour l'étude. Aussi, je vois la direction que conseiller Cormier s'en va pour avoir quelqu'un en affaires. Je me demande juste, ce serait pas juste plus facile d'ajouter une personne extra pour pas perdre, je pense, les ressources de M. Béliveau comme les ressources de M. Lang et Doherty.
La composition du comité est selon la motion que le conseil a déjà adoptée.
Je comprends. Puis j'avais des inquiétudes ce temps-là de mettre un numéro, si vous en rappelez bien. J'avais des inquiétudes de mettre un numéro parce que ça ne nous donnait pas l'opportunité de vraiment étudier puis voir qui ce qu'on voulait vraiment sur le comité. Mais moi, pour moi, ce soir, je suis pas prête de supporter faire le changement. Juste parce que ça arrive juste là, mais je serais prête à supporter d'ajouter une extra personne puis ajouter M. Arsenault au comité.
Bon.
So,
on connaissant nos procédures.
So knowing our procedures, you ask a question. Essentially, you mentioned an item and it brought a question. I was consulting, is it possible to advance this way? They tell me, yes, I would agree. So presently, we have an amendment to remove one and add another citizen. So both are good citizens. When the motion, as I recommended, was based on what I'd recommended was based on the motion of that meeting to have 6 people. If the council desires, we could adopt to amend the initial motion to bring in 7 people, to add to that number. From what I understand, that would modify our decision at the last meeting, but it would still be allowed. So I think I've understood what the explanations. So I want to mention this. However, we'll still have a vote on that amendment as such was to remove and replace. But that might be another option if the members of the council that we could do this after treating this amendment. It wouldn't be not a sub-amendment. It would be a modification of the amendment. So Boudreau, if I remember well, the motion was at least 3 of the council, at least 3 in the public. So it gives us the latitude to have more. And also, I find it very sad that we talk about removing a volunteer citizen to help us, have somebody that helps us. I think that's sad what we're doing now to remove and add. That was my.
Merci, Conseiller Boudreau. Conseiller Joël Desbré.
Merci, M. le maire. Avez-vous pas dit l'autre fois qu'on espère comme 3 mois pour changer avec une motion?
So hopefully we don't have to wait for 3 months to change a motion we'd adopted.
There's
a disposition in the procedures that allows for the modification to review a discussion of a municipal council in the following meeting. The original motion was done at the last meeting. At this meeting, the council could have done a sober second thought and reopened that issue and the debate. Right now, the motion on the floor is to create a committee with the 6, as was decided. An amendment was moved to change a member, and the mayor clarified if the council would do another amendment to add a new member instead of the 6. So we talked internally, and the council can make a decision at another meeting. So if the council wanted to see it tonight, it would be 7. It would annul the previous resolution, but the new resolution for name members modified to add somebody else. So the mayor was questioning, can we review, change the prior, or do a new motion that have the same impact?
Ça va quand même créer le comité.
Ça va venir là. Si on constate à modifier des motions tout le temps.
C'est dans la réunion même ou dans la réunion suivante, seulement ces 2 réunions-là. Puis il faut que la proposition de la...
The motion has to come from one of the persons who voted initially on the motion.
Tout de suite, c'est l'amendement.
C'est l'amendement qui est sur la table.
Right now, we have to vote on the amendment on the table.
Là, puis, je sais que j'avais. Non, là. Conseiller Janice Cormier.
Monsieur le maire, je veux juste faire un
Cormier.
ajout. Je veux pas que ça traîne.
I don't want to drag this out, but I want to add, since I'm here, the council, when it comes to members of committees,
Le maire qui fait les
the
recommandations.
mayor makes recommendations.
On n'a pas besoin d'accepter.
We don't need to accept the recommendation, but was you aware that there might be a change of people this evening? No.
Puis c'est juste ça mon point, je pense.
So that's my point. I think it's important. When's the role of the mayor to give names, and we're going to make changes. I'd like to say that we might want some discussion with the mayor before a meeting so that we can, not to be in a situation like this.
Sylvain, c'est quoi la motion? Les derniers, je pas.
So what is the last motion?
Les derniers.
Je crois que M. DG l'avait de ses yeux, là.
Mr. DG had it.
Je l'ai, si tu veux.
Ah.
OK, vas-y, je
Vas-y,
cherchais
M.
juste pour le...
La motion qui a été adoptée en tant que
The
telle.
motion adopting an amendment had been proposed by Cormier to, in a sense,
qu'un comité soit formé comprenant
the committee be set up with citizens and elected officials without specifying names. And then Boudreau came back and saying
qu'un comité soit formé comprenant 3 citoyens,
3 citizens, 3 elected officials, and members of the staff or administration. You know,
toute date limite mise en place.
he's reading fast there.
Il n'y en a pas au moins?
Non.
Was it the word at least? No.
Mon erreur, merci.
My mistake.
Conseiller Patricia Bourg-Chevalier.
So, Chevalier,
Si on veut ajouter Marc,
if we want to add Marc Arsenault,
une
a person, whoever,
on ne peut pas le faire ce soir. On peut
we
juste
can't do it this evening.
On pourrait.
Yes, we could.
Mais si on refuse l'amendement,
But
on
we
vote contre l'amendement, ça
reject the amendment,
là, on fait
and then
Venir avec une autre
we'd come back with the new motion to add.
c'est beau. Je croyais que vous aviez dit la réunion suivante, je pensais.
I thought you had said it was the following meeting, but we are in the following meeting.
Pas la réunion suivante de celle-ci.
There was a long period where there was no sound because they were discussing between themselves. Anybody thought there was no translation? It was just that they were talking between themselves. So yes, that was the meeting in March.
Avec conseiller Roland Cormier.
In March, so Cormier and then Després.
Monsieur le maire, juste pour mettre la pendule à l'heure.
So, to set the record straight,
Je veux juste aviser le conseil.
I just want to let the council know that I'd informed Mr. Mayor that had some concerns with one member who he was suggesting. I hope he will confirm this.
Puis j'y avais
Yes.
même dit
And I had said what my concerns were, but I thought of not coming out with this publicly. But if they want, council wants to know my concerns, why, I mentioned that I'm ready to do this. But I thought it would be good to go that deep. But Mr. Mayor was aware that I had some reservations with the nomination of Mr. Belleville. So Mr. Mayor was not blindsided by this. So I want to clarify this.
J'étais pas au courant que vous alliez
I
faire.
was not aware that you were going to make an amendment. I agree with you on that.
Puis on n'est pas tout le temps au courant.
And we're not always aware when councillors want to make amendments anyway, another motion. So I just want to clarify this. That's just procedures. I just wanted to make sure that my colleagues knew that there's another side of the story.
Conseiller Joël Després.
Merci, monsieur le maire.
Després.
Question. Vous avez
Last question.
c'est possible qu'on peut amender.
You said that we can amend
Ajouter Marc
and add
citoyen.
a citizen.
l'a recommandé comme que moi j'ai fait. J'étais déçu qu'il n'a pas été sur la liste.
Disappointed he was not on the list. So it could be somebody else in Marc Arsenault.
Recommande au conseil.
I recommend to the council,
Je vous êtes 6, je vous êtes
you need 6, 3 of one group, 3 in the other, and I made up a list of 6. If that recommendation has to be voted by the council, nothing extraordinary there.
Est-ce que la composition peut être différente?
So can the composition be different? Yes, we've already done that in the past.
Mais le conseil, malgré que la directive était
But even though the guideline was for 3 of each,
3 et 4.
we could say 3 and 4, and then adopt, and then all of those people will be part of the committee, if possible.
C'est juste que je dis qu'on ajoute quelqu'un, qu'on décide d'ajouter un.
So if we decide to add another citizen, can we say who it was before? I'm just making recommendation this evening.
Donc, sur.
So.
Oui, tu peux poser une question.
Yes,
oui.
Question.
On peut-tu recommander M. Arsenault ce soir?
Can we recommend Mr. Arsenault this evening? I'm not sure that's what you tell Joël. Yes, you can recommend Mr. Arsenault this evening.
OK.
Reviens, appartient au conseil.
The addition is the council. I gave you a list as mayor, but you can add to it as you want. You can change the list or reduce it. You can tweak it. Well, you recommended the list, but can somebody recommended Arsenault? No, Cormier recommended Arsenault. And he says, if I can only put 3 citizens, I'd have to remove one. That's why he had some concerns, as he said.
Sur l'amendement.
So on the amendment,
Béliveau,
which is to change Béliveau and replace with Arsenault.
Tous en faveur?
All those in favor say aye, or raise your hand.
Tous contre?
Those contrary minded.
Majorité.
So majority. So the amendment is rejected.
Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un qui désire faire une autre motion pour
Does
ajouter?
somebody want to make a motion to add to the committee?
Moi, je suis prêt à faire la motion qu'on ajoute.
I'm ready to make the motion that we add.
Sur le excusez.
So he made a mistake there, but I think moved by Cormier, seconded by Depré, to add.
La motion existante, on n'a pas voté dessus.
The existing motion was not voted on yet. He's just making an amendment to. The first amendment was removed, and second amendment now.
Sur l'ajout de
on the adding of the fourth citizen, Arsenault, all those in favor, raise your hand. Against. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you.
Ça, c'est sur l'amendement.
So that's on the amendment.
Harry a levé sa main pour voter pour.
Harry voted for.
Donc, sur la proposition modifiée.
So on the modified motion with a fourth citizen, it was an amendment, so we have to adopt the whole committee. All those in favor, say aye.
Contre non.
Contrary minded, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Et notre prochaine réunion, avant de
our next meeting, before adjournment,
lundi le 7 avril à 18h.
Monday, April 7th at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.
So adjournment is moved. Thank you very much.